Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FYF, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomax and Camping Cycles. If you're a cyclist and you want to go faster, then let's giddy up. Welcome to another episode of Fast U4 brought to you by FYF, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomax and Capital Cycles. Hey! This week I want to talk about four things. I'm going to talk about the double down burger, what that means, how it affects you, and your race tactics coming up for these spring races. You know you're excited. Bring in tactics to the race and how you're going to do it through data analysis. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to show you if training works. Now, I think we can all agree that the answer is probably yes, but you might be surprised when you actually drill down to some controlled scenarios to determine the way in which training and how much training affects your performance. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you real data. I've been testing myself. I'm going to show you guys. Just because I just want to share the love. So I'm going to tell you what grinds my gears, and I'm going to tell you about the next race coming up this weekend. Let's talk about first things first. Training tip of the week is the double down burger. So I sort of touched on this a little bit earlier, but it did make me think in my own training. I've really come to the conclusion that I can't sprint. So even if I train that, I can't really sprint very well. What am I going to do about it? And how can I use data analysis to inform how I'm going to race, the tactics I'm going to use to give me the best chance of doing well? Well, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I'll put it in the notes. And it reminded me that you need to double down on your strengths as a rider. So two things. That means, of course, finding out what those strengths truly are, not what you think they are, what they actually are with data. And then putting together some sort of plan that is going to allow you to use those. So in our software that we use at FYF, Cycling Analytics, there is a tool which allows you to compare your power curve relative against everyone else's for a period of time. And that's helpful because it gives you a broader idea of where you rate against other people. And how the reason that you want to know that is that you can determine where your best leverage is tactically in a race. Okay, so what I'm talking about. Let's take my scenario. Not a very good sprinter, an okay time trialist. I don't have a big burst of speed or anything like that. Well, that's what I think. Is that true? Let's go and look at the data up here. I don't know if you're looking at the screen, and the analysis tool. Where is it? Athlete statistics here. I can go and look at my power curve. I can see how it rates against other people, and I can see, yes, you know what? Short power sucks. Long power is pretty good. And I kind of enjoy doing time trialing. So, well, okay. Now I know what I think I'm good at. Now I know I have some evidence to apply to that hypothesis to attempt to falsify it, which is the data and the statistical analysis. Well, what am I going to do about that? So I think tactically you want to put in place a plan for each race, because each race is a bit different depending on the type of race and the nature of the race, the terrain and things as well. But let's assume a moderately hilly graded race, road race, you are going to need to have an A plan and a B plan. Now, there's certain critical factors like positioning and placement and things in the bunch that nutrition, warm-ups, all that stuff's kind of non-negotiable. I'm talking about in the midst of the race. What are you going to do? I see a lot of people, so slight tangent, but they race, they don't really have a tactic other than stay on, not get dropped, and sprint as well as they can at the end to get as good as placing as possible. And after a while, that's kind of boring. I think you really want to make the play. So you're going to look at where you're good, and you're going to determine where you can use that leverage on the course. Let's say we're not talking about me. So we're talking about a guy who, relatively to the population, has excellent power and enjoys, small steep climbs, 1 to 2 minute climbs, and has good leverage of ability there. That's where that person is going to have to make moves to try to open a gap and make a break happen. In my case, it might be multiple longer range attacks. Someone else's case might actually be the other way, where they do want to wait for a sprint because they have excellent burst power and top end, but maybe not much long power. So it depends, your tactics are going to depend on what your leverage is as a rider and the course, and kind of the forgotten factor in there, what you enjoy. Sometimes it's worth concentrating on doing something in a race if you just like it. Maybe you can suffer more deeply. You just enjoy doing a certain aspect of racing more. You're going to attack there. So your A plan is going to be to use that multiple times, that tactic in a race. Your B plan may be likely to be, but is not limited to, coming back to the bunch with time to recover to have some sort of half decent sprint near the end. And that's going to vary from race to race. It's something I've got better at, still not that good at, and I know it's easy to say these things in the abstract, put it into place when you're riding with a bunch of other savages. It's difficult, but I think the first thing is to know what your strengths are, to prove it, and to have a plan. You can do that even if sometimes you can put it into place, and even if it doesn't work, even if your A plan doesn't work, well, that's still a lot more fun and interesting racing than it is just sitting in the bunch. Now, how this applies to training is that you can and should, I think, coming in towards a period of racing, do the analysis, do the coaching plan from me. I'll do that analysis all for you. I'll talk through what I think is a good plan with you, and we'll make a plan for those races for you. Look ahead, see what your high priority races are, see what the terrain is. It might even be before that you actually need to step back and say what races, what events are going to suit me and my skill set as a rider. Maybe that's going to inform whether you do this race or don't do that race because they clash on the weekend. You get the idea. Go for, if it's important to you to do as well as you can, that's part of the analysis you might want to do up front. I'll help you do that if you want a coaching plan from FitLab. I get really excited about doing that sort of stuff. It's cool, and as I say, it's much more fun racing. Then we're going to design specific workouts for you in the period coming into towards those races that are going to really double down on those skill sets. They're going to get that knife that's the best knife you've got. The best tactic you've got is the best knife. It's the sharpest spear you've got. And we're going to take it out and we're going to sharpen it and sharpen it and sharpen it and sharpen it. So when you bring out that knife in the knife fight, it's as sharp as it can be, as drilled as it can be, as good as it can be. You're going to be so good at pulling that knife out and doing the damage that it's going to be second nature to you. So I get excited about that. So that's what the double down is all about. Doubling down on your strengths, drilling your abilities and skills based on what we know to be true about your physiology. Still down, guys. I'm doing it. I'm enjoying it. Anyone can go and look at my workouts on Strava. Sometimes I put down that it's the double down. You can see what I do. I'll leave it to you to figure out what I'm doing in those workouts. Go and stalk my ass in Strava if you like. See what my double down is. See what my tactics are going to be for racing. All right, so the other thing is, next thing I want to talk about today is training. Does it work? Well, yeah, I think everyone's aware of the basic physiological principles behind stimulus and response. You know, your body is a wondrous collection of gears and bones, tissues, hormonal functions that respond to stress. Training stresses. The whole principle behind that is for your body to use those abilities to adapt and to make you better, stronger and faster, as they say. So let's have a look at some actual real-world data. I'll be testing myself using the FitLab lactate testing protocols, the gold standard for determining your fitness, in other words, your efficiency on a bicycle. Those lactate numbers give you a normative figure for like data points for determining how efficiently you metabolize glucose aerobically. That's what aerobic fitness is. And I've been testing myself with exactly the same protocols over the last 10 weeks. Every week, I'm going to show you what happens when you apply some structured training to your life. And, I'm not training a whole bunch. I like to think I'm kind of not wasting any time, but it's only 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe up to 11 or 12 hours a week, plus gym time. So, that's pretty significant sometimes, but a lot of the times it's really not, and it's not what a lot of people do, but it's not time, it's quality. What do we get out of that quality? Well, I did a real quick and dirty graph here, and I'll explain it if you're only listening. Here's all my data numbers for lactate 2 through 4, representing the top end of your endurance zone, if you like, the type of level that most people can maintain for an hour to 2 hours, through to lactate 3. It's sort of intensity, as a general rule, most people can tend to apply for around half an hour, if they really had to. And your lactate 4, synonymous with OBLA, onset blood lactate accumulation, or MLSS, maximum lactate steady state. It's not the same thing, but it's a normative point which is interchangeable, really. For most intents and purposes, these are normative points. Lactate 4, MLSS, OBLA, the sort of intensity that, physiologically, actually anything up to VO2, you should be able to do constantly. That's not true in practice. Lactate 4, MLSS, maybe 10 minutes to 20 minutes, maybe half an hour for very good riders. Anything over 5 minutes at lactate 4 is usually getting quite difficult. It's synonymous with like a PE, perceived exertion, about 8 out of 10. You can imagine your lactate's getting pretty high in your legs, and you can feel that burn at that level. So, and it's just a side thing. Your VO2 max, the maximum rate at which you can metabolize oxygen, is if you had a lion chasing you, I think you could operate at VO2 max for a long period of time. But you might die. It's physiological physiologically you're able to metabolize oxygen that fast, but you know, it hurts so much. Your sense of preservation comes in a long time before that. And also, really, most people can operate at VO2 max higher, less synonymous with lactate 5, a little higher than the MLS, only, 3 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes is quite long for VO2 max power. That's like your race pace sort of power. It's a little like a 9 out of 10 perceived exertion. So let's look. Sorry to go off on a tangent there. Sorry, let's look at what training does. This represents about 8 weeks of training. Lactate 2 through to 4. Really crucial parts of the curve to determine your aerobic efficiency. I don't really have a problem showing you the actual numbers, but it's pretty boring. These are the curves, and all you really need to see there is over that period of about 9 weeks or whatever it was, you can see all 3 of those doing exactly the same thing, going up, namely, if you're only listening to this, going up consistently. A little dip in 1 week, your body's not a machine, so there is going to be some variability, but of course, if you take the start and end points of all of those graphs, all of them have gone up significantly. Now I realize it's just a line, so you don't have a way to determine what numbers we're talking about, but to put it into perspective, the top end of that, so the far right, let's take lactate 4 because that's really the most important, is around 400 watts. So a little over, a little under, about 400 watts. And that bottom end there, far left, 9 weeks ago, about 3, why don't I go and look? About 330 there, 330, 3 went through 350s, 360s, 370s, 390, 402, 396. So bottom end of lactate 4, 330, top end 400, 70 watts in 9 weeks or so, at threshold power 70 watts, so just under 10 watts per week. It's pretty good. As a percentage gain, what is that? I don't know. Is that 20%? Something like that. Pretty good. Percentage-wise, you can see that lactate 2 through 3 have changed much the same. There was quite a big jump there in efficiency at lactate 3 about halfway through that period, and that coincided with more of a focus on, you guessed it, riding at lactate 3. What you do more of, you'll get more efficient at. Your body will adapt, assuming you have enough sleep and you're a normal metabolism and blah, 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 blah. So here I am, a normal guy. I'm training, doing some structured training. I know what my levels are because I tested it, and I can keep training and training and training at the levels I need to and test till I'm getting more efficient. So 9 weeks ago, at maximum lactate steady state, I could maintain 330 watts. That level, that 8 out of 10 level, now it's 400 watts, 70 watts more. On a long hill climb and a race, I will take that all day. Thank you very much. It's para training, guys. I think that's pretty cool. And I think it sort of really backs the hypothesis that your body adapts to training at those intensities. You've got to know what they are. Come and see me. I'll do a lactate test on you. And I'll tell you how long to train in those zones for the events that are important to you, if that's what you want. So we do a lactate test at FitLab, fitlab.co.nz. Go there, set up a test. I'll test you. See what you got. Number 3, grinds my gears. What grinds my gears this week? This hasn't happened so much because we haven't done that much racing lately, but we're going to get into it. Yelling in the bunch. So I just want to say, guys out there, if you are self-proclaimed captain of the bunch, look, there's no need to shout. There's 2 things that go on in a bunch. The most common thing you see is guys rotating the wrong way in the wind. If the wind's coming from your left, you rotate around, clockwise, and and I know it's not that complicated, but and it's sort of like the idea is that you want to shelter people coming up, but in the pace line. But look, sometimes guys get it wrong. I'll tell you the other weird thing that happens. I still get it wrong. Often what will happen is I'll sort of like be going, hey, we're rotating one way, and I can't quite tell where the wind's coming from because you're hammering along at 40k an hour, 45k an hour, so the yaw of the wind changes. So if you haven't read the weather or something, or you didn't take much attention to it at the start, you kind of don't really, or you're looking around at trees or plants or something, you're trying to figure out which way the wind is coming, you sort of forget. The worst thing is when someone gets sort of grumpy about that. Oh, you're going the wrong way, and they're shouting out and doing this and that. Calm down. It's just a bike race. Just rotate the other way. Everyone will follow you. It's fine. You can say it nicely. It's not to say you shouldn't. Just be calm. Be calm, dude. And I think that will give you a certain amount of goodwill in the bunch. I think it behoves all of us bike racers to realise we're sharing this space of tarmac with other lunatics. Not all cyclists. Show a bit of goodwill and decency, whether that be how you speak to your fellow cyclists or to other vehicles using the road. And if people are jerks, people are jerks. But it's one less jerk on the road. And you never know, you might be a good example for a younger person, someone who's new to racing, something like that. Or even an old person who's sort of questioning how much they should have been shouting in the bunch in the past. I'm not mentioning their names. And you might have an effect on them, which is going to be more of a welcoming environment for new racers. Things like that. So that's what my guys like is. Don't shout in the bunch, you don't need to. Be calm. Lead by example. Alright, next week's race. We have, after last week's debacle, which was, last week was supposed to be season opener for Wellington Masters Cycling Club, 18k TT Limited Circuit. It didn't happen because it was pouring with rain, and it really was. I can't criticise for not holding the race in that. Probably no one would have turned up because it was more of a 18-kilometre swim than a bike race. But it would be nice to just have a little bit earlier notification that the race is off, rather than when I dutifully drive out there and sit there, check my Facebook, only to find that about 3 to 4 minutes previously it was posted. Having said that, not a criticism. I was one of the first riders off in that TT, so a lot of other people would have been later than me. I get it, it's fine. Not a mage. That was TT, wasn't happening, too rainy. This week, weather looks good for a crit around, did I bring it up in Strava here? No, I didn't. For a crit around the Army Barracks, Trentham Military Camp. Graded crit. I think A grade is riding 35 or 45 minutes plus a lap or 2 laps or something like that. I suck at crit racing, but I always encourage my riders to do what they're not good at in low priority times, because you might learn something, you might get better at the thing you're bad at, and on one hand you can sharpen your knife with that double down workout during the week, and you can even get the rusty knives that aren't so good, pull those out at events you're not good at, give them a sharpen anyway. Make sure your weaknesses are as good as possible and your strengths are as big as possible as well. So that's this weekend. Wellington Masters Cycling Club, correct. Trentham Army Barracks. I don't know, I guess they must be worried about the Allahu Akbars coming along and disrupting our tiny little club bike race, because they're making everyone sign in, I think, so come early. Can't blame them. That's this weekend. A grade, something like 11 o'clock. Watch out for Big Dan Walashevsky on that course. He's a madman, and holding his wheel is not as simple as just pedaling hard. You basically need to invert space and time to jump on that 25C. I'm telling you, watch Dan, watch a bunch of riders. I wouldn't worry too much about me on the basis that I can't sprint. A crit is a series of anaerobic sprints, one after the other with short recoveries for corners. Good training for me, but however, it will not be impressive if you would like to see Cavendish levels of monumental acceleration. I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening to another episode of Fasty Full. Goodbye, FitLab, Toe Nutrition by Max Capital Cycles View, like a training plan from me. You can go to fitlab.co.nz. You can even email me, steve@fitlab.co.nz. I'd love to have a chat to you. See you soon, guys. Thanks for watching/listening to Fast You Full, brought to you by FitLab, Capital Cycles, Tailwind Nutrition, and Biomaxa. If you'd like to get in touch for a coaching program or testing, you can get hold of me, steve@fitlab.co.nz, or go to fitlab.co.nz. Talk soon, guys.